week on NFL Monday Night Magazine. Buffalo's Bruce Smith, the missing in action defensive star the Bills vitally need for a return to the Super Bowl. Wide receiver Andre Reed, the man from nowhere who's become the premier pass catcher in the AFC. And the story of the 1973 Dolphins, often overshadowed, but maybe even better than Miami's unbeaten squad of 72. All this and a whole lot more on tonight's edition of Monday Night Magazine, presented by Mitsubishi Electronics. Hi, I'm Charlie Steiner. Welcome to another edition of Monday Night Magazine. In about 90 minutes, the Bills and Dolphins are going to be duking it out, and we'll get you all set with our show. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Ron Jaworski and Allie Sherman will be joining me for another Exit O's session on Monday Night Matchup. So keep it where it is. We're going to start things tonight with the story of Buffalo's Bruce Smith. He was 1990's AFC Defensive Player of the Year, but in 1991, Bruce could be a more appropriate nominee as a poster child for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Nagging injuries have kept this dynamo off the field for the better part of the season, and the Bills' defense has obviously suffered. There is little doubt this team is going to make the playoffs with or without Smith. But there's hardly a soul up in Erie County who wonders if the Super Bowl trophy can be secured without the healthy return of pro football's most lethal defensive weapon.
In Buffalo, the fans' favorite chant is... And their favorite player is Bruce Smith, the most dynamic defender in the NFL. Smith was the NFL's #1 draft choice in 1985, the AFC's Defensive Rookie of the Year, and a consensus All-Pro every season thereafter.
Bruce Smith, to me, is the best defensive end in the AFC this year. I haven't seen anybody come off the ball and release from a blocker as quick as Bruce Smith.
First player pick when he came in, living absolutely up to that billing. I think he's the most devastating pass rusher in the league.
Smith demolishes pass pockets and destroys quarterbacks. He averages an incredible 13 sacks a season and is already the all-time sack leader in Bills history. Despite such fearsome and impressive credentials, the imposing sack master has suffered from an inferiority complex.
Hope I can get some credit now. Been denying me ever since I've been in the league.
To me, he's the best defensive lineman in football today, and I don't think that I've ever seen anybody with the power and the speed and the ability to play both run and pass as well as he does.
Most great pass rushers are not great run defenders, but Smith is that rare notable exception. He is not easily trapped, suckered, or lured into dead ends, for it is he who becomes the end of the road for running backs.
Probably the quickest spin move I've ever seen in my life for a big defensive lineman.
I tell you, I've seen some of those spin moves that he's done on linemen, and I'm glad I'm not a lineman.
While some players command center stage, Bruce Smith is center stage. And while the play is the thing, it is the performance after the play that is his thing. Like the postman, Bruce Smith delivers in any kind of weather.
It may be cold in Buffalo, but we're going to heat it up, baby.
And when he delivers, his tackles bear a very special step.
Oh, I forgot. Hammer time. Hammer time.
Hammer time to me is big plays on defense. I get a sack and a forced fumble. You do something to disrupt the offense.
Play Salisbury backing up in the pocket near the goal line, and he loses the ball, and Bruce Smith grabs it. They're going to rule it what, a safety or a touchdown? Sure, it's a touchdown. The ball was on the carpet. Bruce Smith picked it up. How do you like that? That's poetic justice for the big man.
That's hammering down on him. You get on him and you pound on him. You never let him get back up. I mean, you just keep beating down on him until you can't see the head of the nail anymore. It's about an inch down into the wood, and you just keep pounding and keep pounding.
Perhaps no player his size has ever been so agile, so nimble, so graceful, so utterly inescapable. In 1990, as thoroughly as Smith overpowered opponents, the Bills dominated the AFC and won its championship.
Where we going? To the show. Where we going? To the show. What time? Next week. What time is it? Showtime, baby, yeah!
On pro football's biggest stage, Bruce Smith gave one of his greatest performances.
First down's your key. You win on first down, huh? Then you kick ass on third down.
In the second quarter, number 78 made what seemed at the time a tide-turning play.
Ingram comes to the left. Double tight ends, one setback Anderson. And Hostetler may put it up here. On second down, he's going to throw, and they're after him. He falls down in the end zone. A safety. The middle of safety. It was Bruce Smith on top of him. And the last safety they had was right here in Tampa.
Yeah, Jeff Hostetler trying to roll out to the right, just didn't have foot speed. Bruce Smith in there like a flash, sacked him in the end zone for the safety. Remember?
Good job out there. Great series. Great series, baby. That's the way to go. Great series out there. That's the way to pressure.
Bruce Smith dwarfs pro football like a colossus, the most pulverizingly powerful and dynamic defender in the game. Is he the best defensive player in the pros? Hey, just ask him.
Hey, baby, are y'all convinced now?
Monday Night Magazine brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when. These days, when Miami plays Buffalo, it's usually the Bills who have the Dolphins' number, but such was not always the case. In fact, throughout the 70s, the Dolphins dominated this series, winning 18 in a row at one stretch. Tonight's Monday Night Memories takes us back to opening night in 1976 on an evening when Bob Greasy's passes filled up the skies, and Miami made mincemeat out of this herd of buffalo.
During the 70s, the Miami Dolphins absolutely owned the Buffalo Bills, at one point beating them 20 consecutive times. On the opening evening of Monday Night Football in 1976, Buffalo's chances looked very dim because superstar runner O.J. Simpson would see little action. Contract squabbles had just been settled, so the juice wasn't quite combat ready. But Bills wide receiver John Holland at number 80 seemed capable of filling the offensive void. Holland snagged 2 touchdown receptions from quarterback Joe Ferguson, but the brash youngster's provocative post-touchdown taunting proved to be the turning point of the game. Holland's hot-dogging so fired up the infuriated Dolphins that they had little trouble thereafter solving Buffalo's defense. The demolition was aided by a productive kickoff return from rookie Duriel Harris, number 26, one of several big special teams plays of the night. The long Harris runback set up a Garo Yepremian field goal, one of 3 kicks the strong-legged Cypriot would convert. Other Dolphin legs proved just as sturdy. Runners Benny Malone, Norm Boulash and Don Nottingham ran wild through a porous Bills defense to the tune of 204 total yards and a pair of touchdowns. Meanwhile, the juiceless Bills' running game was running dry, totally stymied by a quick-hitting Dolphins defense. Only after the outcome was already decided did O.J. finally enter the game, and Simpson proved how great a player he was with a single play. Without benefit of training camp or practice, the future Hall of Famer was still able to reel off his patented series of juice. The run helped add one more score to the Bills column, a Ferguson touchdown to wide receiver Bob Chandler. But the passing game, like the running attack, was clearly superior on the Miami side. Quarterback Bob Greasy found targets such as Howard Twilley and Nat Moore wide open for business. All told, it was another routine day at the beach for the Dolphins, who drubbed the Bills 30-21. Ironically, the 1976 season would be the only losing season the Dolphins would ever endure under head coach Don Shula.
If you're looking for a way to beat those old car blues, your Isuzu dealer's got the right Isuzu for you.
Now's the right time for year-end savings on selected 91 Isuzu cars and trucks, like the versatile Isuzu Trooper LS, priced at up to $1,800 off during the Isuzu for You sale.
Info stylish pickup trooper, rodeos too. Your Isuzu dealer's got the right Isuzu for you.
The Isuzu for You sale ends soon at your local Isuzu dealer.
Great things happen when you put on a uniform. America's largest uniform service company.
Attention, advanced photographers. You're witnessing something never possible before. The miracle of microfine grain for the sharpest detail in color print film. Kodak presents Ektar Film.
Gold is where you find it, and the Buffalo Bills struck the mother lode in the 4th round of the 1985 college draft. They selected receiver Andre Reed from tiny Kutztown State, never quite dreaming that someday this guy would blossom into the AFC's most versatile pass catcher. He can go deep, he can run short, precise routes, he'll catch him in traffic, he'll run the reverse, he'll block when you need it. There's nothing in this wide receiver's portfolio that Andre Reed cannot do, and he does it all as well as anybody in the league.
Entering an NFL arena can be a startling experience, especially when jolted by the raucous roar of Rich Stadium.
It's intimidating to a certain point, but it's the type of player, the caliber of player that can block that out and just go out and play. I'm not worried about the whole stigma like, you know, the NFL. It's the big time. I mean, it's already the big time. You just have to go out and perform.
As a rookie, Andre Reed made an immediate impact. In the 1985 preseason, he led Buffalo in receptions, earned a starting position. And when the Bills were in a pinch, his number was at the top of their list.
This is where it gets tough and the traffic gets heavy. Looks, throws, end zone. An unbelievable catch by Andre Reed.
Let's do something with the ball, baby.
What Andre Reed has done with the football is astounding. In only 6 seasons, he's become Buffalo's all-time leading receiver in catches, yardage, and touchdowns.
I like Andre in these kind of situations.
And it is caught by Reed for a touchdown.
Sets up, looks, throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Reed, what a catch.
Well, he
Kelly out of the shotgun to throw. Long down the middle. Reed's got it.
Reed's not only made colorful catches, but catches that counted.
Let's get him, baby. We're going to win this game, man.
Well, it's miracle time for the Bills offense.
Right to throw. The in pattern, and it is caught for the touchdown by Andre Reed. Do you believe it? Do you believe it?
His clutch catch beat the Rams in regulation, but perhaps Reed's most memorable game winner came when he helped oust the Oilers in overtime.
Kelly to throw. He's got a man. It's Reed at the 30. He's on his way. 20, 10, 5. Andre Reed, touchdown. Incredible. What an incredible play. The Bills have won it on the pass to Andre Reed.
Reed's exhilarating performance can be directly attributed to the exhausting pace he labors at off the field.
I've never been around a player who has a better work ethic than Andre Reed. He is constantly seeking to improve himself.
You know, everybody here has some sort of equal talent, but I think it's the guys that take it a step further and, you know, do those little things that somebody might not see.
Reed's meticulous attention to detail has not gone unnoticed and has enabled him to make every pattern picture perfect.
Practice is preparation for the game. That's what it's about. I think if you're not a great practice player, you're not going to be a great game player. I think if you intertwine both of them together, you're going to be a good player.
While he works at finding the open seam, it's after the catch is made that Reed's dazzling talents are showcased.
RAC, run after catch, there's not too many players that can do that.
Here's Kelly to throw. There's the in pattern. Good to Reed at midfield. He breaks free. Touchdown, Andre Reed.
And he's so strong. He's able to pull away from defenders and break tackles and make the big play. He's a receiver, and I'm glad I have him on my side of the ball.
Doing what he does so well after he catches the ball. Breaking a tackle and going all the way. What a big uplifting play for the Bills.
Once the ball is within his grasp, Reed's speed and effortless stride are his passport to the end zone. If you give him an inch, he'll take you a mile.
The amazing thing about Andre Reed is what he does after the catch. He's got tremendous leg strength, and he breaks tackles, and he can go the distance.
Throws, it's good there. It is complete to Reed. What a play. What a play.
You will never see a better play by a wide receiver than the one Andre Reed just made.
Each game he improves, polishing his patented catch, tuck and turn, moves that are the signature to his craft.
Pass, the blitz is on. He throws, he's got a man, Reed, at the 20, down to the 15, the 10, 5, touchdown, Andre Reed, on an electrifying play by Andre Reed.
Old enough to be respected, but still young enough to be feared, Reed has so perfected the art of running after the catch that it seems he can duplicate his feats at will.
Has thrown a 63-yard touchdown pass. He's going to throw again, and it is caught by Reed at the 40, at the 35, 30, down to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Andre Reed scores. Andre Reed breaks another big play for the Bills. It is
Andre Reed, the best running receiver in the game today.
You know, there's no disputing the fact that the 1972 Miami Dolphins are one of the greatest, if not the greatest team ever in the NFL. After all, they're still the only club to win 17 games without a loss in one season. Such an achievement has actually overshadowed the brilliant showing of the succeeding Dolphins team a year later. The 73 version did happen to lose 2 regular season games, but they repeated as Super Bowl champs. They also allowed fewer points than the 72 squad, and in many ways were an even more balanced team offensively. Here then a salute to the Dolphins class of 73, dwarfed in legend by their perfect predecessors, but still one of the finest football teams ever assembled.
To bask in the sunshine of success is a champion's privilege. And with personalities the equal of their considerable talents, it was no surprise that the Dolphins and celebrity got along famously. There was Butch Kick and Sundance Zonka. Manny Fernandez handling snakes as easily as he handled opposing offenses, while the dulcet tones of Tim Foley and Garo Yepremian topped the charts.
I've lived my life in vain. All my dreams have only brought me...
Beauty may be in the ear of the beholder, but it really wasn't the top 40 the Dolphins aspired to.
Now we had nothing to prove. We're the only undefeated team in NFL history. We atoned for that terrible loss to Dallas in Super Bowl VI. So what do we do when we go to training camp? He gets on and his first speech is, you guys could be the greatest team in NFL history because we can tie the Green Bay Packers of winning back-to-back Super Bowls.
We felt that we were going to be as good or better than we were the year before, but we also knew that it was going to be tougher to stay on top than it was to get to the top. We knew that we would be the target, that everybody would be aiming for the team that had won all the games the year before.
The Dolphins resisted the temptation to rest and worked through the capricious South Florida summer storms to extend their reign as football's premier team. The Dolphins were determined to ride a rainbow to a second pot of gold. It seemed unbelievable, but the Dolphins made the plays every bit as spectacular as they had the season before. Finished the season 12-2. But in many ways, that team had been even more dominant than it had a season earlier. In fact, some pretty convincing people believe the '73 team was even better than its more famous predecessor.
I always felt that that team was better than the team that went undefeated. We knew that every team we played was going to want to come out and knock us off.
The Dolphins cruised to a third straight division title, and if possible, had an even easier time in the playoffs. Their first victim was the Cincinnati Bengals. In the AFC Championship game against the Raiders, guard Larry Little's crushing blocks spoke for the whole team. The Dolphins would not be denied a second consecutive Lombardi trophy.
Going into the playoffs, we had supreme confidence, and we just swept the playoffs. I mean, it wasn't even close. And then in the Super Bowl ball game, it was just complete domination.
And I can remember earlier in the week laying down in the bus before practice. I actually fell asleep, and I'd never do that. But I was just so confident. We were so well prepared. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. We knew what they were going to do. It was fun to play because it was like being a chess master.
The offense really had the confidence that they could take apart the Viking defense. And when you look at the highlight film of the holes that Zonka was running through that day, they were unbelievable.
Zonka did not squander his opportunities, racking up a then Super Bowl record 145 yards rushing. For his efforts, Zonka was named the game's MVP, but it really could have been anyone, because on that day, the Dolphins were as close to perfect as any team could be in registering a 24-7 victory. Again, the Dolphins were world champions. In 2 sublime seasons, the Dolphins compiled an